we're in our surf tones.
We're in our
surf tones. I will never forget whenever we met. When you reached out to me, I was actually at the beach, and that's when I learned that you have a
beach house.
A beach house. So
Right.
we instantly connected on that. So thank you so much for your kind words. I guess if we were to answer a couple of questions that go through everybody's mind, what would you say you were looking for in a math tutor whenever you reached out? What were you hoping for? What was your wish list, if you will?
We were looking for a math tutor. We got a whole bunch of names, so I started calling down on the names, and I was looking for enthusiasm, youth, and cool, and capable. And so we interviewed several people, and we had, some people that were, much older. And when I talked to them, it felt like it was going to be more like a job. And so I knew that with my son that was not going to be the right fit. And so I think you were about the third or fourth person that I interviewed. And when we met you, your energy came through the phone. Jax was listening. I don't know if you realized, but he was listening.
I did not realize that.
Yes, and he was like, no, yes.
Okay.
And so you were his first yes, and so we wanted to give it a try.
Cool, perfect. No, I'm happy. That's I've really enjoyed working with Jax, so that's been a win-win there. You initially reached out for, was it math class help or was it SAT? I can't remember.
Yeah, so last year he was struggling in 11th grade math. And so last year it was all about just digging out and helping to dig out and to end the year successfully, which he did. I think it went up like 2 grade levels by the time he finished the year. I mean, it was spectacular. Actually, he was 1 point away from an A. Remember?
Oh no, that's right.
Yeah,
I remember.
He went from like a D
to like an 88.5 or something.
Yeah, it was 1 point away from the A. And
I remember now.
Yeah, it was
my
something like
gosh.
that. And then this year, he wasn't taking math at the beginning of the year, but we knew that the SAT exam was going to be a struggle. And after he bought the book, which was only about 3 inches deep, we knew we needed somebody to help him navigate that.
And that's the College Board 2019 SAT book. So that's the one that I've been recommending to everybody. It's been working out nicely. Maybe we'll do the YouTube thing and put a link in the description below. What else? So you said that you just got to the interview process with other tutors. You didn't actually have any other math tutors
we wouldn't have them in the house.
Okay,
no.
so we can't compare there.
No.
So I guess, what would you say, what do you think as far as like the mentor angle? Because that's something that you mentioned before. Could you maybe elaborate a little bit on that as far as going beyond, say, help with, a math problem?
Yeah, I mean, I think any parent who has a teenager and teenage boy, sometimes mom and son is not always on the same page. And
Sure.
And, there's been some times where you've come in the house and you could tell that there was some stress. And, I would ask you to, help us with this situation. And it wasn't even tied to math. You're closer in cool and in the level and you're a guy and he's a guy, help try to translate. And I've always been pleased with that. Another thing is, I actually have a question with you.
Okay.
I'm not sure why I'm paying you to have film set up in my kitchen all the time, and it seems like you're doing a bunch of YouTube, and you've got cameras going. What's that all about?
So I've been wanting to, for a long time, build out, I'm sure you've heard of Khan Academy.
Yes.
So Khan did a really cool thing whenever he kind of brought free education, to YouTube. Uh-huh. And I think that he's kind of become the Toyota Camry, if you will, of online education. He's very accessible to the masses, and for the most part, it works. Of course, it doesn't have every single thing that you want, but that's kind of what a tutor or a teacher is for. But in general, if you have a question, you can say, hey, what's with the quadratic formula? And you can type it in, you can get an answer. So I've been wanting to, for a long time, build up a content library where I go over popular topics that I get. Some prime examples would be completing the square, quadratics 101, kind of run down the list, as well as my 3-tier SAT kind of approach. And we've just been kind of whittling away at creating that library. And that way, whenever when I meet either a new or existing student, if they ask me questions about these topics and say, hey, you know what? Enough people have asked me about that. I made a video about it.
Oh, cool.
So that's kind of how that's the emerging scalability of education, is creating videos. It's not a perfect solution. As we can see, obviously Khan Academy exists along in parallel with all, university enrollment isn't down. High school enrollment isn't down just because there's online platforms, but I think that they're augmenting what the limited time that teachers get with students or that tutors get with students.
Oh, cool.
Because you can watch that on your own time, right? And then if you
Right.
still have questions, then we can go over it. But there's a pretty good chance that we don't have to waste our our
Right.
tutoring one-on-one time with a question that I've already answered. And I think Jax, as far as times where he's on camera, I think Jax is a good voice because he's an athlete at Ardrey Kell, and I think a lot of athletes don't give themselves enough credit in the classroom. And I think that I think Jax scored highest on his math SAT.
Yep.
That is, or at least to me, that would seem to be contrary to popular,
Right.
athletes not doing well. Usually it's the math. Like, that's the one that gets everybody, is what I'm seeing. I've worked
You know
with
what the best practice I thought you did?
What's
when
that?
I was really impressed when you were coaching them with the SATs was the time management of the questions.
Yeah.
Tell them what you did with that, because that was, I think, a really cool technique.
So we would sit down with that practice text I mentioned before, the College Board SAT prep. It's got about 6 practice tests in it, full questions just like you'd get. You sit down, take an actual SAT. And I whipped out an iPhone and started the timer, and that was present very much right in view of whenever we were doing those questions, just so you can be very much aware. If you do the math, you have X number of minutes for Y number of questions. That equals a certain amount of time on average per question.
Right.
When you're taking triple that to answer what looks to be a kind of an easier question, you can imagine how that would very much reveal the fact that you need to increase your speed, or it doesn't matter how much of this stuff you know, you're not going to have enough time
If you
to
spend
get
too
it from
much
here
time.
to there. Exactly.
But it also, weren't you doing like, kill, move on? Like if you,
Oh, yeah, absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. We would get to, so it's very much about optimizing the amount of work we can do in a short amount of time. So if within, say half a minute, we can get it down, it's a very difficult question, and we can get it down to 2 answer choices, and we've already kind of answered a lot of the easier questions on the test, then yeah, we're going to guess on that, and we're going to move on, because we've got 8 minutes left, and we've got 3 really difficult questions,
Right.
and we're not going to waste all of our single time on, possibly not even getting any points here on this one, whenever I can take a more accurate shot across a wider spectrum of questions. Statistically, you are going to improve your score that way.
And I think that was really critical for our son, is because we started the training with you with a short amount of time. So I think we only had about 4 weeks that we dedicated to the prep of his math SATs, like the deliberate prep. And I think that was critical for him to sort of move through what he can do and
Right.
optimize the hard ones.
Well, and I think that's
yeah.
and I think that's a common thing where, if you reach out to a math tutor, it's rarely 6 months in advance.
Right.
That is the 10% of cases. The 90% of cases is where I get reached out between a month and a half outside of the date that they're going to sit. And if I can fit you into my schedule, which is getting very busy, within a week or two, that leaves us with like a month or less to prep. So I'm not going to be able to teach you any significant amount of mathematics in that. What we more concentrate on at that point is strategy, the 3-tier approach, time management, these kind of things, because I can teach you that in 2 sessions. I can teach you to move on from a question and not be hung up on the fact that, I can't answer this. Get over it. You got to move on. You have to be able to answer all the questions.
I challenge you. Last year we found you, and
All
you
right.
got him up 2 grades. 1 point. 1 point.
1 point away.
1 point away. This year he's at SATs, scored, delivered. This year you're at the beginning of the semester.
We are.
It's February.
So we want the A this year.
We want the A.
That's
We
what
want the A.
That's what I'm hearing. Hey, Jax, what do you think the probability of us getting an A in math this year is?
It's pretty high.
Pretty high. He says pretty high. Well, thank you, Kelly, so much
You're
for your
welcome.
time,
Thank you.
and thank you for your endorsement. And I would, I would strongly encourage, but it sounds a little bit jaded. So hopefully Kelly's encouragement of
And again, the
of you
number,
guys to seek-
919-536-9525.
That's it.
Greg Newberry.
That's it. Call me up. We'll get them straightened out.
All right,
Thank you.
Bye.
See you guys.